Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Southwest Virginia fishing report with Matt Reilly. How's it going, Matt?
Pretty good, Marvin. How are you?
Just trying to stay out of trouble. How are things in your neck of the woods?
Oh, they're pretty good. We've been having some pretty good fishing. Right now, it's actually raining as I speak here, but we've got thunderstorms kind of isolated, predicted for the next week or so, and starting sort of last night, this morning, several of the waters have started to come up, so not really sure what's going to happen over the next week, but again, I think last week and maybe the week before that, we're going to have to hop around and deal with a little bit of high water, but it shouldn't last too long.
Got it. And so, folks, just so you know, we're recording this on June the 18th, so I assume at this point, Matt, you're really almost exclusively fishing for smallmouth?
Yeah, unless, like I said, I've got to do something, and the smallmouth rivers are all kind of ruled out. We'll go trout fishing if people are up for it, or I'll go trout fishing if I've got the day off, because that stays good all summer, just because we have sort of an elevation temperature advantage here where our creeks stay cold enough and have enough flow to them all summer where we can, ethically and reliably catch wild trout all summer. So I will fish, and I'll do several trout trips through the summer, but you're right, it's not my main focus. I'm mostly on the smallmouth train at this point.
Gotcha. So it's not quite the dog days of summer yet, luckily. But as the water comes up, I guess we're going to see what fish kind of go on the eat and then push to structure.
Yeah. It'll depend on, so some of the smaller systems that they really seem to, they fish pretty well before the water hits real hard. And then when they get, high and brown, they kind of shut down a little bit, or so it seems. The bigger rivers are a little better, but yeah, you're looking for areas out of current on the bank, and that kind of thing. And there is more food in the water, so yeah, they will take advantage of that, have more kicked around in the water column. And, part of the reason I think that they moved to the banks, other than just energy conservation, is energy gain, because if the water rises a foot, now they've got some new sort of bottom that they can scour for food, bank that was previously above water that's now below water. So you have a lot more food along the banks as well.
Gotcha. And is your approach as the water comes up really to generally fish subsurface and fish patterns with a lot of contrast?
It depends. Yeah. That's, you can't go wrong with that. Sometimes, it really just depends on the mood of the fish and the sort of temperature trends and all that. But, sticking real tight to the bottom is sometimes good. You can catch fish on top water. You make a little more noise, or, if you have some clarity, getting real tight to the bank works sometimes too. But I mostly streamer fish, and like you said, patterns with contrast, and, you want to go bigger and darker. And if there's any way you can have any kind of sound, we're a little bit limited in that respect with fly gear, but sound helps as well.
Got it. And this is a pretty good segue into a listener question from Eric Mayhew. He was talking about using split shot with streamers and trying to fish mid-column and get deeper. Kind of what's your approach to get depth when the water's up, or if you're trying to fish just a deep hole, if you're fishing for smallmouth, and even you can share with us what you do when you're fishing for trout?
Yeah. So I guess I'd first say that, when it comes to streamer fishing for smallmouth in particular, and I suppose trout as well, I like to classify streamers into two sort of categories. You have your mid-column sort of suspending flies, and those flies are often, I call them displacement flies too, because you get a lot of your action by with slack in the line after a strip, and the head of the fly is going to sort of push water around the back end of the fly and cause it to move or kick or whatever. And generally those are fairly neutrally buoyant, bait fish flies and the like. And then you have your deep dredging, weighted, I call them jigging flies, because they've generally got cone head or bead head, or they've got dumbbell eyes, and your action is imparted by, twitching the bug, and so it's going to kind of kick up and down. It's going to jig a little bit. So to be honest, I don't use split shot smallmouth fishing a whole lot, particularly not with the former style of fly, because generally those styles of flies, you have a hook riding down. And if you put split shot on the rig, you're generally just going to get the whole thing deeper. You're going to hang up a little bit more. And in fast water, you're going to have to get down, but, you don't want to hang up constantly if you're battling high flows or something like that. Dredging, weighted fly, absolutely, occasionally I will add split shot just because maybe I'm really comfortable with the size of the fly I'm fishing. And I don't feel like it would be a good idea to fish a bigger fly with a bigger dumbbell eye or a bigger cone head or something like that. In that situation, I would add split shot. Doesn't happen very often. I can think of a handful of times where we've done that, and usually it's just because, like I said, I've kind of got the size of the fly I want. I just need to get a little bit deeper because I know there's a fish sitting in a particular spot. Like, I remember one day last summer, there's a big boulder, 8 feet below the surface, but you just know there's a soft cushion behind it, and it's just a perfect spot. And we sat there for a little while and made some weight adjustments, and eventually got it to where that bug was getting straight to the bottom, and we caught a nice fish. But like I said, I don't do that too often. Generally, I would advise going with some sort of sinking line before split shot, just because it's going to make casting easier, and you have a little bit more control, I believe, over your fly because, if you're fishing an intermediate or a sink tip line, some of your line is at the same level that your fly will be as you retrieve it, versus if you fish a fly with split shot on the leader on a floating line, you're going to have to count that fly down just like you would a sinking fly line. But as soon as you make a strip, it's going to move back up in the water column. And particularly if you have fast water, it's going to move a lot higher up in the water column than you think. So, again, like I said, if you're using a dredging fly and you're kind of dead drifting or bottom bouncing, totally different story. Split shot's fine, but I would change the weight in the actual fly first, dumbbell eyes or something like that. And if you're fishing some kind of bait fish, suspending displacement action fly, I'd use some sort of sinking line.
Got it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all right. And then, sorry, I'm being long-winded here. On the trout fishing side of it, generally your water's going to be a little, you're not going to be dealing with as much volume, particularly in the southeast, unless you are, streamer fishing on a tailwater or something like that. And in that situation, I would use the same playbook as I would smallmouth fishing, to be honest. Smaller streams, generally going to be using a little bit smaller fly, maybe. You don't have to. Big streamers catch big fish in small streams too, but I tend to do a little more dead drifting and sort of, finesse streamer fishing in the smaller trout streams. And so, split shot can come in handy there. I don't know if you said in terms of like how to add the split shot, but generally something I like to do, probably doesn't make as big a difference streamer fishing because it's a big bug and they're not, generally you're going to get a reaction strike if you're fishing aggressively. But like, if you're nymph fishing, something that you deal with a lot is split shot sliding down and kind of like hitting the eye of your fly, and then it just kind of looks unnatural. So in that situation, absolute worst thing you could do is tie an overhand knot. And I've done that before, just, being kind of dumb fishing by myself and figuring it's not going to, I'm not going to hook a big fish. And then usually you do, and you break the fish off because you've sacrificed the integrity of your tippet. So if you need to solve that problem, always I would recommend just clipping your leader about 10 inches above and just tying a blood knot and just sticking your split shot above that. You shouldn't need it too tight to your fly, and that'll just keep it in one spot, and you'll still have the full strength of your leader.
No, that's awesome. That's really helpful. And Eric, I'll send you a message on Facebook, and if you'll send me your address, I'll send you some articulate fly swag, and you'll get entered for the end of the season drawing for some Matt Reilly flies and some discount coupons for Reilly rods. Before we go, Matt, I always ask you to share your upcoming Rural Virginian article. What are you working on?
Yeah, so I can't remember if I said last week, but been working on a piece about Brian Kleinchester, who's a bamboo rod maker up in Rockbridge, Virginia. That one should be done tonight. I think I mentioned that to you. Got another one, a couple others. One about a new boat that a company that I've worked fairly close with, Boulder Boat Works out of Boulder, Colorado, is should be coming out with this year, this season. They just put it on the water for the first time a couple weeks ago. I won't give away too many details on that. And then another one, Sweetwater Brewing Company came out with their guide beer, which is kind of a cool concept, with, I think it's a small portion of their proceeds goes to guides in need, guides that have been displaced by weather or an injury or something that sort of prohibits them from doing their work. And I got a couple of cases of that back last summer when they were sort of field testing it, and they came out with it to the public just a couple months ago. So I'm working on that one as well. And with the rain we've had the last day and probably going to get tomorrow and Thursday, I'll probably be at my desk a little bit cracking away at those.
That sounds like a bad problem to have.
Yeah.
Before we go, why don't you let folks know where they can find you so they can book you and fish with you this summer?
Yeah. The website is Matt Reilly Fly Fishing, and that's MATTREILLY Fly Fishing. And you can shoot me an email or give me a phone call or text message or anything like that. And I should add too, if I didn't answer Eric's question the way he was looking for me to, feel free to send me an email or text or something like that too, and I'd be happy to help you out.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate it, Matt. And folks, you owe it to yourself to get out and fish before it gets super duper hot this summer. Tight lines, everybody. Take it easy, Matt.
Yeah, you too, Marvin.